Hey everyone, and welcome to the Retro Channel, and today a Commodore 64 repair. It's been a while since I've done a C64 repair, and this one happens to be a shortboard, which I rarely get to work on because they're generally pretty reliable. But apparently, according to the owner of this one, it might have a RAM fault. They picked up a dead test cartridge, and I think they got 2 flashes with that, and trying to power it on into basic, I think they said they were getting random figures for the RAM count. So sounds like a RAM fault, but I guess we're going to find out. They also picked up an Electroware power supply. These are a modern PSU, so it should be fine, but I just want to double check the voltages just to be 100% certain that it's not a power supply issue. So let's check this thing out first, and then we'll double check what the C64 is doing or not doing. So for this, I'll use my jank load tester, which is basically just a couple of high wattage resistors, a 10 ohm on the AC side and a 4.7 ohm on the DC side, which should pretty much draw a 1 amp load on both those rails. So let's plug this thing in, and we're seeing nothing. Oh, these power supplies have a switch on them. All right, there we go. 5 volts, that's on the DC side. The ammeter is broken on this, but we know it's around 1 amp based on that resistance. Let's just double check the AC side, so we can just do that across this resistor. 9.7, 9.6 volts AC, so yeah, power supply seems perfectly fine. Let's plug it into the Commodore, see what happens there. All right, powering it on without a cartridge, we get black screen. Let's just... black screen. So we're not even getting, a bad RAM count or anything. It's just black screen. Yep, okay. Time for a dead test cartridge, I guess. In fact, let's go for the Des Test Max, and this is the Max Switch cartridge, which Matt Desmond sent over for me to test out. So it has both the Des Test Max, which is similar to the regular Dead Test, but once it passes that, it should also automatically switch over to the full RAM check Des Test, assuming that we can get that far. So let's plug this thing in, see if we get anything other than a black screen. Okay, we do. All our bits are bad, and it's stuck on a blue border, so it's failed testing the 0 page, but it looks like it managed to pass the VIC test, which is kind of hard to see with this capture device because by the time the image pops up, it's already... Ooh, hang on. Okay, now it's gone further into the test, and that looks to have gotten stuck at a different point. Looks very unhappy, but we can see the time of day clocks down the bottom look correct. So, ooh, okay, and now it's just gone all weird. So I think the CIAs were hopefully fine, and now it's, yeah, okay, now it's still doing random things. It's getting a little bit further this time. I wonder if it'll reach the end. We've got some random characters appearing. The video quality is pretty terrible, but that's using the original RF modulator, so not a big surprise. And I found the VIC-2 and the shortboards is actually worse than the VIC-2 and the longboards in terms of video quality. So we did reach the wall of shame, which indicates what bits have gone bad at certain addresses. I don't really remember how to decode this. I don't think it really matters for this one because, yeah, it's still telling us by the red bars at the bottom that all bits are bad. So I'm kind of moving away from a possible RAM fault and maybe to an addressing fault, just because I highly doubt, oh, and now we've got a basic screen, and as promised, the wrong amount of bytes free. Yeah, it's still, I still don't think it's a RAM fault. Oh, different bytes free. Oh, and now we've almost got, oh, I can even type. That's interesting. Those random flashes, I think, are from the VIC-2 accessing the RAM. So The CPU and the VIC-2 can of course directly address the RAM, but obviously one has to do it while the other one isn't doing it. Otherwise you'll get some weird issues. So yeah, it does seem like an addressing fault, so I'm moving away from it being the RAM. Being a shortboard, there are only 2 RAM ICs in here, and I did already take the screws out just to have a little peek inside. So yes, as promised, we have a shortboard in here. Oh yeah, and this machine was recently recapped, but it was recapped after the fault started. So when it comes to Commodore 64s and the electrolytic capacitors in these things, they rarely go bad. You have to be pretty unlucky. I have seen it happen, both with one of the axial caps in a longboard, and I think more fun making it, or more fun fixing it. Lee showed on his channel recently that he had one of those axials go bad as well. So it can happen, but I think it's incredibly rare. So I'd say if you're having an issue with your C64, recapping it is very unlikely to fix anything. But it's been done, and some people just like the idea of it for future-proofing. Nothing wrong with that. So, yeah, all the caps have been done. It's funny that this here, which is normally an axial cap, as you can see, the legs have been spread out to make the connection. But a little trick with these boards, and also with the long boards, you'll find that on one end of the axial footprint are actually 2 through holes. So you can actually put a regular radial cap and solder it to both these through holes. Obviously double check which one's positive and which one's negative. So I might just do that, because just looking at this capacitor makes my nuts hurt. Apart from that, they do look good, and they appear to be good quality capacitors. I can see some Panasonic ones, so at least there's no Chinesium junk, which would probably be worse than the originals. And we have VIC-2 in a socket, which is pretty standard. The 8701 clock generator is also in a socket. It's not going to be that, because we've got a video signal and the machine is somewhat running, so definitely got good clocks. SID is in a socket, and one of the CIAs is in a socket. Everything else is soldered to the board. So I guess the first thing we can do is just pop out the CIA and the SID, just to rule them out, seeing as they're already in sockets, but I somehow doubt this is going to make any real difference. But who knows? Let's just try and boot into BASIC again. Oh, we almost saw an out of memory error, so I guess that's different. But yeah, still broken. Out of memory. Don't think DesTest Max is going to be any different. Yeah, it's still looking screwed up. It's kind of funny that the timers are still in sync. How is that possible? Oh, no, they're fallen out of sync. They're back in sync. How is that possible? With this CIA out, the PM timer, in theory, should be just giving us garbage, but both the timer day clocks are staying in sync. Is that a clue of some sort? All right, let's get the board out, take a closer look. And the board is free. So, shortboard, this one has the separate color RAM, so it's one of the earlier shortboards. The later revisions integrated the color RAM into this Super PLA. But these are generally pretty reliable, so I don't think we need to go chasing this down at this point. Apart from that, everything looks pretty clean. The recapping solder looks fine, don't see any issues there. And there is a bit of schmutz on the board. But, just some random crust, who knows what that was. Probably came in through the vents, which would sit around the top of this board. It looks fine. U18, I'm pretty sure normally has a chip in there. Instead of an IC, there's just a bunch of legs sticking out of the board. What? I think there normally is an IC there. So What exactly is going on? Is there one on the bottom side? No. But the pins are still soldered into the board. So somebody has cut U18 out. I think that's one of the 4S66s, which handles maybe the pot inputs from the joystick ports to the CIA. But why has it been cut out? And would that be causing our issues? Well, we're definitely going to need to fix that up. So I'll get those old pins out, stick a socket in, and put a 4S66 in. Don't know if that's going to solve the problem, because I don't think this chip is related to what we're seeing, but who knows. Everything else on the board looks okay, except for this little bodge here, which is bridging one of these little EMI filter thingies, but that should be fine. If you jump the two outer pads, it's basically doing the same thing. You just don't have any protection from the joystick ports to the CIA on that line. But I don't think I have any spares of these, so that's going to have to do. Let me fix up this cap, get these old pins out, put a socket in, and we'll go from there. So unlike the long boards that definitely have two pads on the axial caps that you can put a radial cap in, the short boards don't allow for that. So I was wrong, and well, I guess I'll be putting that cap back how it was. All right, cap is back in place. I guess it looks slightly neater without that extra bit of leg on it, but it was perfectly fine before. Let's get these old chip legs out, because they're definitely not right. All right, fresh socket is in. I'm just going to grab my shortboard just to make sure that is a 4S66. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it should be installed. So here is my one and only shortboard machine, and yes, there's definitely a 4S66 in that position. Okay, I have a 4S66. I think this is probably salvaged from something else, so just going to quickly test it in the Mini Pro just to make sure it's actually working before I stick it in this board. So the TL866 or the Mini Pro, or whatever they want to call it these days, can test certain types of basic logic, and I'm pretty sure the 4S66 is one of them. So let's see, logic tests. 40. There it is, 4S66. Test normal. Okay, we're good. So let's throw this in. Why it was removed, I don't know, but I don't really see it making a difference in this case. I guess we're about to find out. Plugging in, power on. Different kind of garbage. All right, so we're still getting, just random garbage. BIOS free res. Yeah. Okay, let's have a look with Des Test Max. I don't think it's going to change anything. No. So still the same fault by the looks of it. Yeah, like I said, I don't think it was going to be that 4S66, but it should be in there. So it's not such a bad thing that we reinstalled it. Ooh, we almost... Is it going to get stuck on bit 1 every time? Yes, it is. Something I should have done and should always do from the start. Let's check our voltages on the user port. So 5 volts is sitting at 5.08. That's perfectly fine. And the AC, 10, almost 11 volts. Yeah, the shortboards don't have much of a load on the AC side of things, so it's pretty much to be expected. So no issues there. Given that the VIC-2 is already in the socket and I've already got my shortboard out, let's just swap that between machines. I don't know, could be the VIC-2. I kind of doubt it. It's going to be pretty boring if it is, but it's one way to find out. All right, VIC-2 from the suspect machine, yeah, seems perfectly fine. No issues. But yeah, you can see, like, even with my RF replacement and the Luma bypass, you can still see jail bars on the shortboard. So that's more down to the shortboard VIC-2 from what I found, because sticking one of these into a longboard and making sure we don't give it 12 volts, I found pretty much the same image. Like, it looked basically the same with a shortboard VIC-2 in a longboard 64, which is why I say that the longboard VIC-2s are actually kind of better in terms of video quality anyway. Not so much in terms of heat generation, because these things only run on 5 volts. I could always test this CIA in a longboard, but that's not really going to be necessary, as we know the machine still doesn't work even without it installed. Now, there is a quirk with the shortboards where one of the CIAs actually has VIC-2 addressing signals going through it, and I get the feeling it's this one over here. Seems a bit suspect. What else can we throw at it? What's on here? Huh, it almost runs the diagnostics. Almost. Yeah, see, this doesn't seem like a RAM fault. It seems like an addressing fault, because some of the 0-page text is just moving randomly about the screen. Well, I guess not randomly, but to a certain position around the screen, which I'm sure corresponds to a certain amount of bytes away from its original place. Maybe 100 and maybe 256? Do you think? And Des Test Max, yeah, it won't even go past this start screen now. I'm just going to give all these sockets a bit of contact cleaner. I mean, they all look fine, but it can't hurt. I don't see any of these ICs causing our issue, so I'm going to stick everything back in. I'm leaning towards that first CIA just due to what I've seen. So I'm just going to do a more thorough inspection of the board just to make sure I haven't missed any other random things. I'm not seeing any other issues on the top side, and no obvious issues on the underside either. What's kind of interesting looking at the schematics of this board is the other 4066, which is still in the board, it hasn't been cut out, is actually sitting between the Super PLA and the VIC-2, and it looks like it's controlled by the AEC signal, which I'm pretty sure is what allows either the CPU or the VIC-2 to have control over the RAM. So could it be that that 4066 is actually bad? Which would be kind of random. And here's the 4066 that was cut out. And yeah, it is just connected to some of the keyboard columns and some of the joystick ports. So yeah, without that in there, obviously some of that stuff wouldn't work, but definitely wouldn't cause the issues that we're seeing. So yeah, that's the CIA that we removed at U1. Yeah, that's not going to make much of a difference. But the one at U2, I assume it's at U2. U2, so yeah, a lot of that is connected to the user port and some things to the serial port. But there's also, yeah, VA14 and VA15. So that's VIC address 14 and VIC address 15. Are connected to that, and I'm pretty sure if you remove that CIA on a shortboard, the system won't boot properly. And those lines head over to the Super PLA. So yeah, I'm pretty sure either it's going to be that CIA or that 4066. They're my two suspects. I'm just looking at BWAC's reverse engineered schematics for the shortboard because they're a lot easier to read. There is an AND gate at U3, which has some interesting things going on. AC, DMA lines, and that connects to the VIC-2. Okay, so this 4066 at U21 seems to just be controlling access to the color RAM, so I'm going to rule that one out. So I feel like U3 might actually be our main suspect, just given that, yeah, it's got the AEC line connected, and it controls sort of DMA and bus access between the CPU and VIC-2. and looks like it also handles the chip select signals from the Super PLA to the basic and kernel ROM, which could explain why we're seeing weird things on power up. Let's take out U3. Not even going to get the scope on this one, we're just going to pull that thing straight out. Alright, U3 is out, it's a 74 LS08. Let's throw it in the Mini Pro, see what it says. Let's just do an auto find, see what it comes up with. Oh, it matched a 7408. Damn. So, looks like I was wrong. Okay, fine. There you go. Yep. Back to black screen. And occasional garbage. Well, the desoldering gun's still nice and hot, so what the hell? Let's just take the other CIA out. It's got to be that, right? It's got to be. Right, our socket is in, but as I said, the shortboards actually require that CIA to work properly. So if we try and power it up without it, we just get a black screen. And a consistent black screen at that. Oh, and occasionally we'll get that, which is sort of like we were seeing before, where it looks like the VIC-2 is trying to access something, you know, at the wrong time. So we're just getting a bunch of garbage, but there's an even space between sort of the on and off garbage. Then yeah, still the same. So let me grab a known working... We've got a CIA right here, don't we? Let me grab this CIA, because I can only assume it still works. We'll stick it over here. Is that it? No. No. It could be that that's also broken. Let me get working CIAs, test those. Let's throw our suspect CIA in U2. This may still boot okay. It does. But is it actually okay? So time of day clock on the second CIA is messed up, and that is U2. So I think it's pretty safe to say that is bad. We were right about that. Let's have a look at the other CIA, which was installed in U1. And I think it's good. At least the timers are good. And throwing that suspect CIA in U1 stops the machine from booting at all. So that was definitely bad. At least we took out one of the right chips. Won't even boot to DES test. Wow. It's really not happy. Alright, so that is bad. It would appear that the other CIA is still good. It's giving us the right time. Let's see if it gives us a cursor. Yes. And we can type. Cool. So we can at least say that this one is good. Now, out of curiosity, let's throw that back where it was and throw a known working CA in U2 at the same time. Maybe you need both of them on a shortboard, but I don't think so. It's an easy way to find out. Nah, we still have issues. It's almost hasn't changed at all, which is kind of funny. Even though that thing was definitely bad, that's not where this is going to end. Just in case, let's pop these two out and pop this out. And even taking these three out, there's no difference. So definitely more problems here. I'm thinking CPU. Well, I've been poking around at this with the oscilloscope for a little bit, and to be honest, I don't see anything out of the ordinary. The data and address bus looks fine. Everything seems to have regular activity. Nothing looks to be shorted or, conflicting somewhere, so we're not getting stuck halfway. Chip select signals appear to be fine until the machine crashes, of course, and then sort of nothing happens. So on, say, the kernel and basic ROM, yeah, you can see sometimes the chip select, keeps being selected, but other times when the machine crashes, it'll just get stuck high. But yeah, nothing, no smoking gun. So I don't know what else to do here, but just keep pulling chips. I'm going to start with the CPU, even though it's obviously at least partially working. I guess everything on this board is partially working. It seems to be the most likely suspect. I really don't think it's going to be the Super PLA because they're generally 100% reliable, but who knows? If it's not the CPU, I think I'll move over to the kernel and basic ROM. Maybe there's just some corruption happening in there. I mean, we did see the regular basic screen at least once, so I don't know. I'm still not sold on it being a RAM fault, but yeah, like I said, I'm kind of running out of options here, so I'm just going to go for what I think is the most likely one and continue on from there until this thing bloody works. All right, CPU is out. Let's throw it in the ZIF machine, see what happens. Here we go. Oh, had me going. CPU seems fine. So that can go back in. We know it's still good. In fact, we know the VIC-2 is good because we tested that in the other shortboard. Kernel and basic. Right, kernel and basic ROM is out. Let's stick this in the other shortboard. Alright, kernel and basic ROM in my known working 64. It also works. Because of course it does. Okay, fine. Well, let's do the RAM. And then maybe the character ROM. And then there's hardly anything left. I just noticed that one of the pins on this chip is missing. So that was the CIA that was over here. When did that happen though? Maybe this thing isn't dead. I mean, the results we've been getting didn't really change once this was out. Alright, leg has been reattached to this CIA, which may actually still be good. Let's find out. And yes, our time of day clocks now look correct. Oh, look at that interference in there. Well, machine boots up okay, and I'm sure if I stick this in the first CIA, making sure not to lose any legs, we should get a cursor. And we do. Wow, okay. So there was nothing wrong with that. Obviously, I must have lost that leg when I took it out. This is going well. Right, well, I can go back in here, and with that, we're back to square one. What happened to that tick? It's not a very good tick. RAM or character ROM? I mean, the VIC-2 kind of talks to the character ROM, doesn't it? Directly, sort of. But we are getting characters. Sometimes they're the correct characters too. RAM. Right, the RAM at U, whatever it is, has been removed. Let's throw a fresh chip in there. See what we get. Still a black screen. Yep, and Des test still looks exactly the same. We'll pull the other RAM chip and then character ROM. All right, both RAM chips replaced. What are we going to get? A black screen. Can't believe it. I'm fine. I'm good. This is good. And Des test, still the same. How about a character ROM? I mean, in the back of my head, I'm like, super PLA, but I've never seen one go bad. And if that does turn out to be bad, that's pretty much end of the road, because I don't have a spare one of them. I don't know how easy they are to come by either. So I'm hoping I'm going to exhaust every other option before I get to that. All right, character ROM is out. Let's just leave it out and power on the system. Obviously, we won't get proper characters, but we may get a black screen. Okay, that's not it then. Des test, exact same thing. Wow. I mean, there is a tiny bit more logic, but I really doubt it. Color RAM doesn't seem likely. We'll just double check this character ROM in the ZIF board, but dare I say it's working just fine. I see characters, yeah. I also see that terrible noise. I'm swapping this power supply. I've had enough. All right, my power supply, which is actually an original Commodore brick, but I've changed the DC stuff to a Meanwell. So it is still a modern switch mode power supply, and yeah, as you can see, that noise is, oh, there's a tiny bit in there, isn't there? It's a son of a bitch. Oh, you son of a bitch. Oh, is that my... Right. That noise is just caused by my dodgy pigtail adapter. I think this S-Video jack, only one of the grounds is connected. So obviously noise is finding a way in. So with the Electroware power supply, yeah, it's pretty much noise-free. Okay, just my dodgy pigtail. So really all we have left are a couple of logic chips. Pretty sure this one is all just about the reset circuit, and I think it handles the restore key interrupt thing as well. These two seems unlikely. This one seems to sort of interact with the color RAM, selecting it somehow. U22, I think, is just a multi-purpose kind of thing. I'm not sure how many gates are actually used on all these. Let's start with U22. All right, this thing is out. It is a 7406. Let's throw it in the Mini Pro. Yes, I know this thing isn't a perfect test for these, but generally, if they're bad, it's going to tell us. Let's do an auto find. Yep, 7406. It also matched a few other things, but I'd say that's good. Kill me now. All right, our 4066. Let's do an auto find. And there it is, matched the 4066. All right, the last logic chip. 74 LS14. And yeah, I did notice that this looked a little bit funky in this area, but it's just kind of dust on this board. It wasn't actually anything to do with the chip or the cap next to it. Find me a winner. Yep, that's in there. Well, we now have almost a fully socketed C64 shortboard that still doesn't work. The only thing really left is the Super PLA. Oh, and this color RAM. I mean, it's possible something else is broken, one of these things that I've already pulled out and tested. Maybe I should test those things in a known working machine. The problem with that is, well, my 64 shortboard doesn't have that many socketed chips in it. And some of these things you can only test in another shortboard. So I'm going to leave this one here, but I want to know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it's going to be the Super PLA or even the color RAM? Do you think that one of these ICs that I've tested could still have some kind of marginal fault and we just haven't picked up on it yet? Could it be the sockets? I mean, originally this machine had these 4 in sockets, so maybe one of these sockets is bad. I mean, I did put some contact cleaner in them. That doesn't seem to have made a difference, and I have put them in and out of the machine a few times now, and it doesn't seem to have changed. But as this thing has taken far longer already than I had originally planned, we're going to end this video here. There's going to be a part 2. And yeah, like I said, let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think the solution would be? And would you have done the same thing as me, knowing that, well, as far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen one of these Super PLAs go bad. And this one may not be bad either. But yeah, let me know what you think. Would you have done the same? Would you have approached this differently? Put it in the comments. That is it for this one. Thank you all for watching. And of course, a huge thanks to the people that support the channel on Patreon. They get ad-free early access to all videos, along with some extra bonuses, like discounts on the Tindy store and some behind-the-scenes stuff. So yeah, if you're interested, links to that are in the video description. Yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Bye. It's got to be the Super PLA. What else can it be?